everyone, I'm Captain Logan and welcome to the ever-billowing comic book vault. Today we're going to take a look at 6 brand new issues that just came out this week that I've added to the vault, and let's get right into it with Batgirl number 0. Like I said last week, I wanted to go ahead and pick up at least a few of these New 52 Zero issues to see what they're doing with stories that happened before the New 52. By the way, I think it's a little bit silly that they're saying before the New 52, just because I always thought that the idea of the New 52, that banner, was the new universe that was created by the events in Flashpoint. And so, technically to say before New 52 would be the old continuity. All these things certainly take place in the new continuity, but I suppose I'm quibbling over semantics. The idea is that these are things that happen before the stories of the comic books that we're reading. So, anyway, I had been staying far, far away from Batgirl because I wasn't real happy with I was entirely unhappy with the way that Barbara Gordon got her legs back. The idea with bringing Oracle back to Batgirl was simply, let's contrive a way for her to be able to walk again, and it's a miracle. I guess she had some kind of special surgery, and after all those years, at least in the old continuity, what seemed like years and years of not being able to walk, now she just can walk again. Here in New 52, it seems like it's trying to kind of condense that and make it to where her being Oracle, and honestly, I don't even know. I'm assuming that she was Oracle, though I haven't read a lot of issues. I've only read one issue of Batgirl. I just read that first issue, so I'm assuming that she had the mantle of Oracle, but it was much more condensed. It was just in a few years, maybe just a couple of years, and so it was just, my point is, it was just a chapter in the life of this person, whereas in the original continuity, Oracle was kind of the next step of that character, and that was where she really kind of found her own, I always thought, and I just really like Barbara Gordon as Oracle, and I always thought that was a really interesting character, and to just bring her back to Batgirl, I always felt was kind of a step back for the character, and I think a lot of people kind of felt that way. So I had been avoiding this book because of that, and I hated that because I like Gail Simone and I wanted to read what she was doing, and I'm sure some of the stories are great. Nothing against anybody who decided to go ahead and read this book because of that. That was enough to make it difficult for me to really care, and so I did go ahead and pick up Batgirl number 0 just because I had read with solicitations that it had something to do with Killing Joke, and I thought perhaps maybe we would get lucky and it would kind of clear some of that up and tell us exactly why she had lost her legs. I mean, why she had, gotten her legs back, rather. And I guess honestly, if I had been reading this book, I would have known that we were told, or at least I've been told by people, that in that book, we're told that she had this special surgery and stuff, and so there was really nothing else to explain, and so I can't be too disappointed that this wasn't what I was hoping it would be. This story is actually really quite good. Is it necessary? Did we really need it? No, but that seems to be the trend with a lot of these, where it's not really about giving us a lot of new information as it is just kind of setting up where these characters have been for a year, and you be the judge as to whether maybe we should have started with something like this to introduce New 52 rather than just throwing everybody right in the middle of what felt to a lot of us like kind of mass chaos with this new continuity that is kind of new and kind of not all at the same time. So this is about Barbara Gordon before she becomes Batgirl, basically kind of going on a field trip to her father's work so that she can do an assignment for college, and she ends up getting in this giant fight with this bad guy who shows up there, and she basically puts on this kind of fake batsuit that somebody has put together in this presentation in talking about Batman, which is really kind of cool. And so it's kind of this new take on how she comes up with becoming Batgirl and why she does that. It also is some early stuff for her brother James, which I was really glad was in there also. Again, this is not super important or anything, but I kind of enjoyed it, and the end, I won't say exactly what happens at the end, but the solicitation saying that it was kind of about Killing Joke, he does set up Killing Joke, and that's pretty much what it's about. I guess just to firmly tell us that, you know, Killing Joke is indeed a part of this continuity, although I'm sure you probably could have kind of gotten that from the rest of the book anyway. So, yeah, this issue was fine. I'm still just not real happy with the decision to make Oracle just a chapter in Barbara Gordon's life, where Batgirl is much more important to her. Anyway, moving right along, Avenging Spider-Man number 12. I've been reading a bunch of Deadpool for this Deadpool Classic series I'm doing on the Comic Book Vault, and I thought it would be kind of fun to pick this up and see what some current Deadpool was like. And Avenging Spider-Man's a book that I've been thinking about jumping on and just reading regularly anyway, because I haven't been real happy with the slot stuff lately. So I thought I'd go ahead and give this a chance. I have read a little bit of Avenging here and there. Of course, it's kind of one-off stories and, you know, 2-3 issue arcs, so it's pretty easy to just jump on wherever in this book, and I love books like that. As I always say, I really miss Superman, Batman because of that, and this seems to be kind of like that, where it's just it's different writers and artists coming in and doing their take on Spider-Man, and also their team-ups with other characters. This one is a Spider-Man Deadpool team-up. Deadpool, currently, in modern comics, is a little bit different than he is in the classic stuff I've been reading, because, as everybody always likes to say, either fondly or complaining about Deadpool, he likes to break the fourth wall a lot. And just jumping into a Deadpool story like this, it's really difficult for me to understand where that comes from, why he knows the stuff he knows within the context of dealing with other characters in the Marvel Universe. How does he know that he's in comic book panels? How can he say things like, oh, that's an off-panel noise? How can he say stuff like, well, Spider-Man, if we don't do something, they're going to have to change the name of this book to Avenging Deadpool. I don't really find that kind of stuff all that funny, because I don't get the context. Like, I guess out of context of the story, it's kind of amusing that you would have this character that knows that kind of stuff, but I just, premise-wise, I don't really get it. I mean, I guess the idea is supposed to be that Deadpool is kind of crazy, and so he's kind of got this sixth sense about him where he realizes that the world is actually inside of a comic book, but then maybe it's just all in his head, and that kind of thing. But it takes it way too far, because he talks about things that we know about being in the real world. So anyway, in a storytelling sense, I kind of resist that. I find it very distracting. I don't mind things like, you know, in a Deadpool comic, the like the writers themselves kind of breaking the fourth wall with editor's notes and with narration boxes and things like that. I can get behind that. That's okay. But the character himself coming out and saying things like, we're gonna have to change this to Avenging Deadpool, I wonder about stuff like that. This book is about Spider-Man being trapped in a dream, and they make a lot of references to Inception and some jokes about that, and that's kind of fun. And Deadpool claims that he's here to help Spider-Man figure out who has trapped him in this dream, and then help him get him out. And he's constantly complaining, and then we find out what Deadpool's real purpose is by the end. And this is actually a cliffhanger issue, which is going to lead into a second issue. And the idea is that Deadpool doesn't really think that Spider-Man has much of an imagination, and Spider-Man's worst nightmare is basically what kind of a pathetic loser he would be if he had never gotten the spider bite, which I actually quite liked. I really like Kevin Shinnick, who is a writer I don't know. He's got a great voice for both Deadpool and Spider-Man, actually, and I kind of like their banter back and forth. This was a fun story to read, and like I said, I resist some things about Deadpool, but the art's great, and the ending is quite hilarious, and if you can stand Deadpool, sure, this is great. The next thing is Batman number 0, which is Snyder setting up a whole lot of things like the Red Hood gang, and there's two stories in this. There's a story by Snyder, and then there's another story at the back of this. Let me see if I can get you a name real quick. 1 second, I should have been more prepared. Where is it? Okay, this other story is by James Tynion The fourth. Wow. Okay. So somebody I don't know who actually writes a pretty good story in the back. And these stories kind of link together a little bit because of this Red Hood gang. Because there's some Jason Todd stuff in the back that kind of sort of relates to that actually. And I won't give away why exactly that is. So this first story is about Batman. Is about Bruce before he becomes Batman, kind of setting up shop. It's supposed to be 6 years in the past, and he's come back to Gotham from his training, and he has set up in Crime Alley because he thinks that he needs to be close to where his parents died to be motivated to become Batman. And of course he hasn't even come up with the costume or anything yet. He's right now just being kind of a vigilante, but mostly he's going out with gangs and things and trying to pretend to be one of the gang members so that he can get into their heads and their minds and stop them. And he kind of makes a careless mistake here with the Red Hood gang, and that kind of informs how he's going to operate later on. One of the things I don't really care for with this, well, really it's just the idea that he would set up in Crime Alley. I think that that's kind of strange because he doesn't, like, people know that he's there is what's weird about it. And so Gordon shows up and tells him, hey, we've heard there's this vigilante running around, do you know anything about it? And he's like, it seems like you would sympathize with this person given your background. And all of a sudden, at the very beginning of Batman, it's like Gordon already has reason to suspect that this guy would be Batman. And I really kind of resist that. I kind of get that Bruce Wayne wouldn't necessarily be as good as he is later, right at the beginning of getting suspicion away from himself, and actually Alfred is constantly in this cautioning him about doing that, and about making sure that he keeps suspicion off of him, and that he doesn't do things to draw attention to himself, and that's precisely what he's doing. But the fact that Gordon is really like the first person that kind of suspects maybe he's involved in this, I don't know. I kind of resist that. That seems like they would change their entire dynamic as time goes on, and from what I can see from Snyder's other stuff, in 52, their dynamic's not really much different from what it's been in the previous continuity. Whatever, that's just me. I don't really care for that. There is some really clever stuff in this, though. There's this bit where Bruce is working with boomerangs, and I really like that. He's working with boomerangs before he's made a batarang, and there's this part where he has this timed batarang, or boomerang rather, and he throws it, and it's got like a 4-minute mark on it, and he's waiting for it to come back to him, and then that's when Gordon shows up. So he's got to try to finish his conversation with Gordon before this boomerang comes back to him, and I thought all that was really clever. And then that second story really sets up actually all three Robins kind of at the same time, and I really kind of like how it does that. It's kind of cool. People have been complaining a lot about how apparently Tim Drake was never Robin, and there's this kind of dossier in the back that talks about who Batman is in 52 and the people that he works with, and indeed it says the first Robin Dick Grayson, the second Robin Jason Todd, and Red Robin Tim Drake, and it's like, wow, okay, apparently he really was never Robin. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they pull that off and how that works. Is he just going to be a vigilante by himself, taking the Robin mantle but adding something to it, or does he ever actually work with Batman? What I'm really wondering, and I haven't been reading Red Hood and the Outlaws, I don't know if there's anything about this in that, I'm wondering if in New 52 Jason Todd ever died, because he has a very different kind of backstory here than we saw in the comic books. Or at least it sure seems like it. The little snippet we get from him here, he seems to be kind of different, and I wonder. And again, it says that he was Robin, and then it's like now Red Hood. I wonder if in New 52 he was Robin and then became Red Hood. If anybody knows if this has been actually established someplace in New 52, let me know. I'd really like to know that. So anyway, that's Batman number 0. Then we've got AVX round 11, which is pretty much just more big action stuff with a whole lot of talking with Professor X. Professor X was set up last issue as kind of the thing that would probably come in and try to fix everything with the Phoenix Five. Now down to 2, actually. We've just got Emma Frost and Cyclops. And, of course, those 2 have all of the power of the 5. Whenever one of them dies, the rest of them get more power. And now it's just down to Emma Frost and Cyclops. And this issue is kind of bringing everything to a giant head. The Avengers are recruiting all the power they can get. Captain America gets Hulk to join them now. And then the middle and end of this is really kind of a giant verbal battle between Cyclops and Professor X. Professor X feeling responsible for putting Cyclops on the path that led to all of this, and Cyclops calling Professor X a giant egotist, and how dare you come in and criticize me, and he tries to tell Professor X that he has kind of fixed the world, and that he's done what Professor X taught him to do, and that he should be celebrating that. And of course, Professor X doesn't see it that way, and neither does really anybody else. And so I don't know. I think the end of this is somewhat predictable. Leading up into the next issue, it kind of what happens is pretty much what I would have expected, and I think it's kind of the only thing that could have happened. I'm still really enjoying this. It's going to be interesting to see how it ends, and yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. I've been personally, I know a lot of people are still not loving it. I really like Avengers vs. X-Men. I think it's a lot of big, kind of over-the-top fun, and I think it's quite fun. Some people have complained that maybe it's too long. I can kind of see that, but it's okay. It's not enough to make me overall not like the book. But yeah, did this really need to be in 12 issues? Infinity Gauntlet was in 6. This is kind of one of those kind of events where it's just a big, giant, huge cosmic thing. Did it really need to be in 12? That's a fair criticism. The next thing is Avengers Assemble number 7. I don't have a lot to say about this book, about this issue, rather. This is pretty much Thanos bookending things in a super awesome way, and then the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy fighting the Badoon in the middle. Lots of fun, giant space action. The beginning of this is Thanos with his cosmic cube summoning the elders of the universe, and he's not supposed to do that, but he's got the power to, and so he does. And what happens with them is really cool. And then the middle of it, like I said, just a bunch of space battles and stuff, and then Thanos comes back at the end to kind of pull it all together and make it more and more awesome. It's not the best issue of this book. It's kind of it's kind of more setup stuff, and we've got to have all this battling going on with the Badoon, which is not extremely interesting to me as much as the Thanos stuff. I feel kind of teased with Thanos. I'm like, I'm reading this book for Thanos, but I've got to watch these characters fight this alien race, and it's good and it's fun, but this is not the most thickly plotted issue, and it's kind of a breeze to go through. And the last thing, briefly, is Batman Arkham Unhinged number 6. Once again, I'm reading this because I love Arkham City, and I really like how this is kind of an anthology book, just setting up a whole bunch of stuff for the video game. And this, once again, is Derek Friedolfs, who's written a lot of this, and I think that he's got a great handle on these characters. This issue focuses on Tim Drake, which is great, because Tim Drake didn't get very much to do in the game, and it's kind of neat to see him kind of jump into Arkham City and try to do some investigating about things that are going on there. He finds out that there's supposed to be some kind of massive fight club going on, and so he goes in to investigate it and see who's running it, and it turns out that it's actually underneath the museum and that it's being run by the Penguin. And one of the things I really enjoyed about this was getting to see all those big, giant set pieces again from inside the museum. That was one of my favorite locations in the video game, and it's really cool to see those drawn here. The front of this shows Bane and Solomon Grundy, so I guess I'm not spoiling too much by saying that those two are in this, and this really kind of shows you where Solomon Grundy was. Well, he's in the same place he is in the video game, but it kind of sets him up, because when we see him in the video game, it's sort of like, wow, really, Solomon Grundy? Which is kind of what it's like here, but it's nice to, but it is nice to see Penguin using him, and Bane is kind of after more Titan, and so there's this big, giant, massive battle with both of them, and And I really like how Tim Drake has figured out how to get into Arkham City and make everybody think that he's just like a regular thug, and how he kind of fights his way into this fight club to investigate. And some great characterization for Tim Drake, some really, really great art, and overall, I'm still really loving this book. It's just a bunch of fun to get back into this universe, and Arkham City is huge and massive and totally worth this treatment, and I'm so glad that we're getting it. I know that all of these things were previously published online, so a lot of folks have already read it, but I like to have things in my hands, and I'm really enjoying getting to read it now. So anyway, thanks everybody for watching the Comic Book Vault. That's all my new acquisitions for this week, and if you'd ever like to send me anything to review on the Vault, you can always send comic books to the Comic Book Vault. That's Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. Thanks as always for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Captain Logan. Happy reading.